Hello and welcome to the beginning of an experiment to introduce lore into my Let's Play videos. This is Epic Jondoh, and here you have Jondoh the Warlock in his favorite chair in the Stormwind Library. It will become more apparent as I go on why I chose this location. But first, a few notes. I have never RP'd, not in this game or any other game. For those who don't know, RP is reference to role-playing. I have not done it. I do not know how to do it. So, if there are any elements that look like RP but are wrong, that would be expected. I'm not trying to do RP exactly. I'm trying to add lore in an interesting way into the context of my videos. And that may look in some ways like RP, but I don't intend to be a full RP. Make a full RP production out of this. Some of the information I'm working with, most of it comes from WoW Wiki, which itself is based on the text of these manuscripts found throughout the world of Azeroth. There are these texts that are left. There's quite a few examples of them right here in this room.
I need to get closer.
But they're also in other libraries throughout the world. These books have been left, and most of the WoW Wiki entries that I copied or read came from these texts. And I took the text from the WoW Wiki pages, made my own Google document. It ended up being about close to 50 pages of text that I've gone through twice now, and also further explored terms and people I didn't know or didn't fully understand, and also a handful of YouTube videos and a couple other sources as well to try to help me understand the history up to this point in the Warcraft lore. I am using a 2004 version of the timeline. I have not explored. There are other versions, and I imagine they are more clear for other expansions in the game, but I wanted to start with the lore as it was when the original classic was released. Some other video authors have remarked that classic lore was a bit of a mess, or possibly unclear. I think that it is quite complicated, but it does seem to hold together fairly well, at least from my couple of days. Again, I want to make that clear. I've only been looking into it for a couple of days now. But it does, it seems to be fairly well put together. It is complicated. There are a lot of different moving parts. It's not a single story, which I think is what possibly some of the authors may mean when they say it's convoluted or hard to understand. There is not only one story going on. There are many stories going on all at once, and it can be hard to separate all the moving pieces. But anyways, I will be linking the text document into the information for the video, so you can see what I'm working with. I'm also going to be reading a little bit about some character background that I've done for Jondoh here that will help illustrate his place in the world and hopefully give me a place to start from as I tell his story and explore the world, looking at it more from a story perspective than an RP's perspective. I want to see his place in the story as I go along and understand how he fits into the lore. And so I'll read you a document. I'll also post this document in the info below. But this is what I've come up with so far to explain his Jondoh and his place in the world. I do not pretend to know all lore history or to get it all correct. I reserve the right to update and amend anything I feel is a mistake. I also reserve the right to deviate from the official lore as I see fit. In many cases, at points where my character expresses an alternative view of the lore, you can take it simply as his mistaken understanding, or perhaps the official records have it wrong and he is onto something. I reserve the right to change my character's mind, opinion, or position for any reason I see fit. So Jondoh's history: he was a historian and a philosopher before he was a warlock. His questioning of the establishment version of the truth has led to him being ignored or unwelcome in most circles of his own society. It was after he published a paper questioning the nature of both the Titans and the creatures of the twisting nether that he learned how unwelcome free inquiry really was, when it did not conform to the social norms. By his own search for unvarnished truth, he had unmasked the facade of acceptance and tolerance his society claimed. He has seen that in truth his society is in deep devotion to comfortable illusions. After the release of his radical paper, Jondoh was approached by several secret members of the Warlock Order. They helped him make sense of the rejection he faced for his simple quest for the honest truth. They helped him understand that most people crave and depend on illusion. Even the quest for truth is a carefully guarded illusion for most people. They want the comfort of believing things they like. They develop whatever beliefs will help them maintain their illusions and reject any information that would demand abandoning the illusion they have created. He began to know many in the Warlock Order as seekers of truth, the hard, uncomfortable, inconvenient truth. He discovered he had more in common with them than he would have previously conceived, based on what he had been told by others. In time, he took up the study of one of the oldest sources of power in the universe, as a way to understand deeper truth. Now he has set out to become involved in the events of the world. He wishes to see, to understand, to know the history, the present, and the future of the world. He wishes to pursue and record the truth of things. Further, he wishes to learn to harness the power of his own will to effect change in the world. So he will seek to involve himself in events as they unfold in his own time. Now, Jondoh's view of the world. From his study of the ancient texts, Jondoh has put together his own personal beliefs about what happened at the beginning of time, and our own place in the universe. He would not say that his beliefs are absolute, and he would be happy to hear a different opinion from someone open to an honest exchange of ideas. But he will not surrender his belief to the will of any other, or the pressure of popular opinion. Jondoh likes to form an image in his mind to work on, like a sculpture. As new information, ideas, or discoveries are made, he will modify and shape his views and his model. Just as an artist would chip away at a block of stone to create ever-increasing detail, the following is how he would attempt to describe some of the key points of his intellectual sculpture in its current condition. He wrote it all out and delivered it in a speech at the cathedral to the Philosophical Council in Stormwind, after he had decided to leave his comfortable life in the city so he could pursue a new life not bound by the dogma of his fellow citizens. He was cast out and banned from entry into the cathedral following the speech. On the Nature of the Universe by Jondoh. At first there were two realms. One was unformed matter, which we call the void. The other was pure consciousness, which we call the twisting nether. Somehow they began to combine. The collision of these two realms formed what we call the universe. The struggle between order and chaos is an illusion, brought on by misunderstanding the nature of their interaction. Pure order cannot exist so long as consciousness, with the ability to choose, also exists. The void was pure order. Only with consciousness comes the ability to choose something other than pure mathematical order of the void. On the other hand, pure consciousness is chaotic. Without form or substance, a realm of pure consciousness is maddening. What appears to be the struggle between order and chaos is simply the remains of both realms' pure form trying to hold on to itself, and the old way of things. The truth is that the universe exists as a combination of both order and chaos. As the universe improves itself, it moves towards more harmonized combinations of both order and chaos. During the early stages of the collision between the void and the nether, the titans and beings such as the old gods and the other creatures of the nether were formed because of the uneven mixture of the two realms. The titans were mostly creatures of the void, created using abundant amounts of indestructible matter from the void, with small, poorly developed portions of consciousness. That is why they are unable to grasp the decisions and will of others very easily. They have a very simple and steadfast view of the universe, which is more like the pure order found in the void. On the other hand, creatures from the nether, like the old gods, are formed mostly from the forces in the nether, with comparatively simple and primitive contributions from the void. They still have too much consciousness, and so they lack the ability to balance themselves. They are more like the pure power of consciousness given form. Their will is unstable, primal, and often turns violent. Both types of creatures were made in colossal form, as the universe first attempted to create a bond between the void and the nether. So they are extremely powerful, and they have tendencies which remind us of the pure state of the realms they were shaped from. We inhabit a more perfect nexus of the void and the nether than has existed before. The universe has been more completely mixing both the matter from the void and the consciousness from the nether. It is unclear yet if what we see now will be the final form of the universe, but it is certainly much closer to a perfect mix than the old powers are. While we seem fragile individually, when taken as a whole, we are more powerful than anything yet formed in the universe. When our worlds are seen collectively as an entity, we can each be seen as individual cells in a new entity of unbelievable power. Our worlds are the product of the universe trying to create harmony from both order and chaos. The universe has learned to divide both matter and consciousness into much finer grains. we have much less total power ourselves to wield, so we can each cause less overall discord to interfere with the harmony the universe is trying to create. We also each have much more concentrated forms of consciousness, so that we can begin to have a measure of control and direct ourselves towards more than just simple primal drives of nature. We are the manifestation of the universe trying to understand itself. Our worlds are at the nexus point in the collision of all the titanic forces of both the void and the nether. From this turmoil, we are rising together to become the dominant power in the universe. In time, we will overcome all other forces and creatures in the universe. Titans and the old gods alike will do our will as we command them. What we are experiencing now is the struggle and the process of our collective power being born into the universe and taking on its true form. Eventually, we will take it upon ourselves to shape what remains of the void and subjugate all the powers of the nether. The worlds we live on are our throne, built for us by the wild shaping of the universe. From here we will rule the universe as the most powerful and complex entity the universe has ever created. It is important, as we rise to our rightful place in the universe, that we shed our need of illusion. It is a weakness we do not need. We will become more ourselves as we can stare without flinching into the face of truth. One illusion we need to depart from is the illusion of safety. There is no such thing. The universe was born of the void and the nether. There is nothing safe about the universe. Our pathetic attempts to control our domain and make it safe actually makes us weaker and less likely to survive. If we want to survive, we need to learn to meet the danger and turmoil of the universe head on and conquer every adversary. One example is the irrational fear of warlock power. It is true that many have been lost, and much has been destroyed by our quest to gain power. However, the alternative to this struggle is becoming weak and unfit to survive in this universe. Ragnaros was brought back into our plane by an ancient shaman spell which Thaurissan cast. The sundering of the world happened because of the folly of the Magi, when trying to bring Sargeras himself into the world. Druids are playing with forces which are bound to the will of the old gods. Servants of the light themselves free themselves from responsibility of forming their own free decisions or opinions and elect to blindly devote themselves to the will of others, essentially turning themselves into minions for their masters to wield. While the practitioners of each of these may have good intentions, the raw truth is that they have accepted the illusion that they can have access to power without danger to themselves or to others. It is no secret that the power of warlocks can be used to cause great pain and destruction. It is, however, a grand illusion that any of the other sources of power are not subject to these same dangers. Every source of power can cause great harm. The illusion is that some sources of power are purely good. Power reveals and amplifies the nature of the user. It does not modify the moral quality of the user. As a people, we have already begun to embrace the need to struggle, to learn to dominate our world. We revere and respect the warrior, though his only single purpose is to impose his will or the will of his king on other people through the use of deadly force. We have accepted the existence of warfare. It makes no sense to then reject the struggle that comes with conquering both the twisting nether and the void. as we improve our arts. Both those realms will continue to exist no matter how much we pretend they do not, even if we try to ignore them. Our only sane course is to learn to overcome all the threats of every realm of our existence. So without fear, I press on, rejecting every illusion, seeking the truth and power. I will take my place in this great universal struggle and do my part to see that the interests of humanity is represented as the universe bends to our will. And that is the speech given by Jondoh as he left his place in society and struck out to become a new adventurer in the world of Warcraft. And this is Epic Jondoh signing off.